This is my buddy Mark. I met him a bazillion years ago in a mini truck club, and I decided to keep him. Mark has a bagged and body dropped 1986 Isuzu that he built a bazillion and a half years ago. It's got the typical mini truck bed that's not ideal for hauling sand. We're going to change that. Not so much for sand, but for BMX bikes and stuff. Hey Garage Fabbers, long time no see. I decided to take a break from the YouTubes, but I haven't been lazy. I wanted to knock this bed out as quick as possible, but I also handled some Garage Fab stuff that I've been neglecting. If you're not a regular follower, feel free to skip to the bed build right here. Garage Fab is now trademarked, which is huge because there's several other Garage Fabs out there. I have zero interest in taking away the Garage Fab name from others, but I had a huge fear that I was going to build a massive channel with a significant following and then get forced to change the name. Kind of like my buddy Justin from the Fabricating series. I got an LLC for Man Candy's Creations, which will be the parent company of Garage Fab, and a couple other businesses that I've got in mind. Also, I'm often asked about merch, so I've been working on that too. Expect a video dedicated to just that real soon. Lastly, my favorite person and wife, Caroline, has been taking on some of the management of Garage Fab, including social media and finances, so that I can focus more on fabrication and videos. So expect to get to know her just a little bit better. So back to bed. Not that one. We started this project by removing the bed and taking a whole bunch of measurements. And by taking measurements, I mean taking photos with a tape measure. So any measurement I might need in the future is in my phone. We also laid straight edges on the notches to help determine where the framework for the new bed can be located. We did all of this because Mark is taking the truck back home on the other side of the city. The bed is off and waiting in my driveway for me to cut into it. The plan is to remove everything that you see inside the bed. The floor, the walls, the front bulkhead, all of that's going and getting rebuilt. It is currently resting on some sawhorses that I made just for this. Those sawhorses aren't gonna work. The original plan was to cut off the bed sides completely, set them aside, and frame out the entire bed. And once the frame was built, simply hang the bed sides on that frame. And then I realized that he has a welded in and finished roll pan connecting both bed sides. So that's not going to work. I have to figure out a way of essentially levitating this bed in midair, since there won't be a floor for the sawhorses to support. I need the bed sides to just hang there in my driveway while I frame it out without damaging the roll pan. So here's the rough plan I have in my head right now. Prior to removing any of the material inside the bed, I'm going to put legs on the front of the bed, welded to each side of the front. Between those two legs will be a bar, keeps the left and right sides the correct distance apart, since the bulkhead will be cut out. And then in the back, something very similar. I'm thinking of making something that bolts on to where the strikers used to be. And then the legs are welded to that. So we will basically have two bed sides welded together by a roll pan sitting on top of four legs. Here's a fun trick I learned on the old Instagram reels. If you need to find the center of something, hold that something with a finger on each end and slowly bring your fingers together. Your fingers will naturally slide as the piece balances itself. And when your fingers touch, bam, there's the center. I'm giving you an option. You can make the crossbars for the front, or you can drill some holes in these that match. Yeah?
You know what? I'll probably use these two, just so I'm not dealing with that.
I like it. We got some legs welded onto the bed. It's time to start digging out all the middle stuff. Hey, I guess we can get rid of these wooden doohickeys now.
Why?
Because we don't need them anymore.
Yeah, we don't need that.
I noticed that bed rails have a bit of a curve to them, so a straight edge wasn't going to work to mark a cut line. So I used this cheap little scribe tool. Super cool if you need a line with a consistent distance from an edge. After scribing a line, we marked it with masking tape. It just makes it easier to see while cutting. The guts have been removed. The plan is to build the frame in place, piece by piece, starting with the top. We can use this front plate when framing the bulkhead, but this part on the side will get in the way, so we need to remove that.
So it's just flat right here?
Right.
Okay, I can do that.
Day 2 working on the bed, and it's starting to get hot, so we decided to get an Easy Up since we can't work in the garage. It's not really an Easy Up though, is it? Easy Up is a brand name. Why can't we work in the garage? My wife's truck is in the garage. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit better. Not quite as hot, it's still hot, even in the shade. So we got a whole bunch of 1x1 steel and 1x2 to frame out the bed with. And we don't have much of a plan other than to just completely frame out the top, figure out how deep the bed needs to be, do some vertical supports, and then frame out the bottom. So the first step is to frame out the top rails of the bed. Just 3 pieces. We're going to do that with 1x2. A quick explanation of why I have 2 different sizes. I'm not an engineer, but here's me pretending. If you have a piece of flat bar bridging a gap and you put weight on it, it'll easily give and sag. Making it wider would help a little bit, but not much. Now, if you place that same flat bar in the vertical position, suddenly it's very strong. If you make that taller, it's significantly stronger. The problem now is with enough weight, this bar will twist and fold in half. Enter square tubing. The 2 vertical walls of that tubing are doing the majority of the work, supporting the load. The top and bottom, less work. We know that their ability to resist bending isn't much, but they help in some other ways. The top is resisting compression and the bottom is resisting being stretched, but that's more advanced than I want to get into in this video. Most importantly, at least for this video, is that the upper and lower walls are keeping the sides straight and vertical. Just like the flat bar, if we make these sides taller, it can support more weight. Even taller still, even more weight. If you lay them all flat, their ability to support weight is somewhat equalized. By that I mean this one is not a whole lot stronger than this one. This vertical orientation of supports is used in a bunch of stuff, like overpasses and floor joists. All that nonsense just to say that the 1x2 inch rectangle will be used in framing out the floor and the bed rails. In other words, the stuff that needs to support the most weight. And the 1 inch square will be used for anything not seeing bending forces, like vertical supports and access doors. So the original bed mounts are 13¼ inches from the top rail of the front of the bed. So we need to make some vertical supports out of some 1x1. We're gonna make another support bar that goes across out of more 1x2 that's 13¼ to the bottom of that. So we've got to do some math and figure out how long those vertical supports need to be.
9.
So we need a whole bunch of vertical supports.
Okay.
I'm thinking at least 8.
Oh shit.
This is 9 1/4 between this and this. I got more 1x2s that I'm cutting. They're going to cut across where the wheel goes. So I'm gonna cut those long ones out, and then we need probably like 4 verticals on the side and 3 or 4 verticals for the front. So that's a whole bunch of pieces of 9 1/4 inch, 1x1.
How many?
At least 8,
Okay.
10 of them. Let's go with 10 and go from there. The framework is all tacked together, but I kind of had a brain fart. I just put the bed floor at factory height. The entire point of this project was to eliminate the hole in the floor for the notches, and we don't want to bump either. So we needed to raise the floor a little, and I just forgot. Oh, hold on.
His life. Oh.
On the bright side, it's just tack welded in. So all of these uprights all around the whole bed have to come out, and we're gonna shorten them 2 inches. And then this one right here is a little too short for some reason. I must have mismeasured something at some point. So I'm gonna show you how to add length onto some rectangle tubing. And then each one of these uprights is gonna get chopped 2 inches. Then we're gonna weld them all back in, and we're gonna start doing sheet metal. And it's actually gonna look like a bed by the end of the day. Kind of. No fender wells yet. So I haven't done any work yet today. Mark's done it all. And now I'm gonna make him do more work. All these uprights, they need to be trimmed 2 inches because that's how big we made the walls. Well, we didn't make the walls. Who made the walls?
Ours to find.
He did?
Yeah.
Isn't he like famous? He's got cool stuff. I've never met him.
He does have. You've never met him?
I don't think I've ever met him.
Oh.
Okay, well. So while he's doing that, I'm gonna make this longer by just welding a piece on. I've got an extra piece. I'm going to line up this weld. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. That's just pride, I guess. Pride or OCD. Piece is longer now. Now we just need to cut it down to the proper length, and it's obvious to me, but if it's not to you, I didn't make it the correct length when making it longer because it would have been really hard to do. This makes a lot more sense just to make it too long and then just slap it in the saw and cut it to the exact length we need.
I think while he's doing that, I'm gonna just. What? Nothing. I was yelling at that. I think I'm gonna just run around
And start knocking off all the old spot welds. I think it'll just make it a lot easier to put everything back together, not having this junk sticking up. And then I could feel like I'm doing something. Okay, so we need to make these little edges right there fit on this edge right here. This is gonna be a butt weld all the way along the entire length. Marcus is gonna do that, but we don't know how we're gonna do that yet. Are we gonna use the cutoff wheel? Are we gonna use the shear?
We're gonna draw a line first.
Oh, okay. Draw a line. Do you want a scribe? I have a fancy scribe for that somewhere. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh, there it is. There it is. Want that?
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use it though. to open that up. And that
Yeah, loosen that. That'll slide to whatever measurement you want. Tighten it down.
Okay.
I gotta poop though. I gotta poop.
Okay.
Is that okay?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna go poop.
That's gonna be so damn sick. Woo.
The framework is all back in. The bed has been completely squared up and everything has been fully welded, and it's starting to get dark outside. So I don't want to do any more work that has to look good. So no sheet metal tonight. I think the last thing I'm going to do is flatten out the beads on the frame wherever the sheet metal needs to rest flat up against. And then that's gonna be it. Las Vegas is stupid. No exaggeration, 2 weeks ago, it was hot. I was running the air conditioner in the garage. I was having a hard time motivating to do anything. Last weekend, it was 75 degrees. Beautiful. I had more motivation than I had time. Progress galore. And now this weekend, it's 60 degrees. I'm freezing, and I don't want to do anything again. It might be time to admit that temperature doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm just a lazy motherfucker. I'm going inside. I'm kidding, I'm not going inside. We're gonna finish up the framework today. We're gonna put some supports for the sheet metal in this front section and in this rear section. The center section is going to be support free. It's not really support free. The frame of the truck, the notches will support the sheet metal, and the bars between the notches will also support the sheet metal. But we're not adding anything to the framework of the bed in the middle. We changed things a little bit from our original plan. We were gonna do a pair of doors up front. That has changed to one door right in the middle that's kind of large. His battery is right about here, really close to center. So if we were to make two doors, one for that one and then one over here, they'd pretty much be touching anyway. So we're gonna make one door. And then we're going to make one door that matches back here so that he can access his fuel tank to fill his air stuff over here. I hate you, every single one of you. I hope you all make it home safe, but I hate you. I'm just marking out the doors right now, and I've already marked center of all of these horizontal pieces. That's the entire width divided by 2 to find the center. And we've decided to make 30-inch doors. Half of 30 is 15. So I'm going to mark out the edges of the doors. So there's our 30-inch door centered. I'm going to do that on every beam. Just a reminder, because I don't remember what this is, 19 and 20 and a half. I wanted to frame out these doors today, but I decided I want to use a little angle iron. I don't have that, so unfortunately I can't do that. And it's starting to get dark already. Love this time of year. I love it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the sheet metal on some sawhorses for the bed floor, and I'm going to start cutting it to the right size, and maybe I'll get the front bulkhead piece attached as well. There's a thing I do to quickly find a fairly precise center of something that's a little more than just splitting the width in half, which is how I start. I find an approximate width that's easy to split in two. In this case, 5 3/8. That's not exact, but it's close, and it's easy to math. Half of that is 29 3/16. I mark 29 3/16 from one side, mark it again from the other side, and you'll see my marks are in different spots. But I'm not looking at my marks. I'm looking at the little blank space in between. That's my center. I'm finding the center of this sheet to help me cut it to fit the bed. I'm imperfect, so the framework on the bed walls is probably imperfect. To account for that, I locate the center line of the sheet and the center line of the bed, and then I measure the bed from the center line out at 8 different points. Then transfer those measurements to the sheet. That way, if a wall isn't perfectly straight, which it's probably not, I'll be making a cut line that contours to the imperfect wall, or walls. This is about to be the first time that I ever use this, and I'm kind of excited and kind of scared. I have a feeling it's going to be loud. I am going to put a straight edge somewhere around in this area that's going to make me create a perfect line with this saw without having to have a super steady hand. Nice. I got a big old beefy piece of flat bar that goes the entire length. That's exactly what I needed. All right, that is a little less, it's like 1 inch and 3/16. What a stupid measurement. All right, I'm scared. Are you scared? I'm scared. I am thrilled so far. Thrilled. I think I peed. Just a little. Oh, that's nice. It's so straight and so easy. Let's measure this. This is the measurement I want right here. This is what matters. It is 1 inch and 3/16. Wow, that's stupid. Why can't it be even? I bet it is even in millimeters. Ooh, let's find out. Yep. 3 centimeters or 30 millimeters. We're gonna use this to measure for today. Only for today, guys. Settle down. Nice. Another win for Evolution. I think I need to get a sponsorship from these guys. They are fantastic. Fantastic. This cut is so clean, and I can even see hints of where my mark was all the way down. I'm kind of excited to see if this fits that. I kind of expect it to not fit because I cut it just a wee wider than what I actually need, because I would rather sneak up on it than cut it too small. I've only got 1 sheet of this stuff and I didn't buy it. So yeah, let's see if it fits. Well, it fits, almost. At least it's not too small. So I'm going to trim 1/8 inch off of one side to make room for a 1/16 inch thick wall and try to get this side to lay flat. But that's a job for tomorrow meet. All right, there it is. Sits down flat. Fits pretty tight. Got a little gap over here. Not a big deal. I'm happy with that. One more thing we have to do as far as the floor and the bed sides are concerned is this front piece. And let me show you what was in my head when we had the bed sides broken. Braked? When you break sheet metal, what's the past tense of that? Broked? When we ordered these pieces, we ordered the front piece too wide, and that was intentional because I did not know what the width of the bed was going to be. And I wanted to break these sides of the front piece so that they fit behind the side pieces. Now I know the actual width, so I can break these myself. All right, I want about 1 inch of metal behind the side panel, and the total width of the bed is 56 3/16. So I've got an extra inch over there, so I need 57 3/16, and that gives me a little less than 1 inch on this side, but that's fine. That is fine. Now I need to break this here, and I need to break this here, but I don't have a break anymore. Oh no. The way I break sheet without a break is by first scoring the metal, and then folding it with hand seamer pliers or something similar. Well, this thing is too wide. I measured the outsides of the inner walls, and so it doesn't fit in the framework here, but that's okay. And it's probably better that way, because that way, if I just trim off this little bit, it should fit perfect. And this will be the same width as that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Nice. Nice. So this lip right here is going to be under the bed floor, and this lip is going to be behind the bed sides. So there will be spot welds all along this lip and all along this lip to connect the front side and the sides. The sheet metal is cut to fit and more or less ready to weld in. But before we do that, I had Mark swing his truck by so we can test fit and make some mounts. Because I don't feel like crawling around under a mini truck and welding upside down. Sparks down the shirt and in the ear holes? Yeah, I'd rather get a Brazilian. PSA, taking silly selfies on a YouTuber's cell phone is risky. Unless, of course, you don't mind several thousand strangers seeing them.
That's when the happy is in charge.
It's gonna take me 10 minutes to cut that out.
Why do you have to cut it out?
Because there was no context. So the goal today was just to put the bed on so that we could slap some bed mounts on here before we do the sheet metal, because once the sheet metal's on, that's gonna suck. So we cut out a bunch of things. It's really quite simple. We got some 2x2 square tubing that we're gonna weld to there. There's one mount. That's exciting. Same on the other side. And then in the rear, the mount was kind of in a really awkward position. So we decided to just do this number. And all of these mounts are going to have nuts welded inside so that we can put the nut in from the bottom. Peekaboo. Super easy to get to, super strong. And there's access in the back to get to that, so super easy. The front, not so easy. You can't tell right now, but this is going to be a door. We may be able to get access through this hole to get that bolt, but I'm not thinking so. But Mark was mentioning jacking up his car if he really needs to, so that's how we're gonna do it. And that's all we need the truck for. So we can take the bed back off and weld all this stuff on. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is that we are designing it in a way where the mounts that are welded onto the bed are not going to contact the, what do you call these? The bed mount pedestals or something?
Yeah.
Okay. There will be space in there. And the reason for that is so that we can use shims to fine tune the height. If anything happens, if the frame bends a little bit, or if just down the road we realize that this body line is just a little wonky, we can just nicely change the height all easy like, because there's nothing worse than you needing to drop the bed, and you can't because the mount is too low.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. What?
All right.
All right.
You want to take it off?
No, I love it. I love it.
You want to leave it?
It's so good.
You want to bolt it on and
No.
take it home?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I do, but I don't.
Okay.
It's not gonna. No.
This looks like a great time to end this one. Otherwise, it'll be a 3-hour video. So, coming up on future episodes of Garage Fab, Clecos, custom wheel tubs, homemade tools, more Mark, access doors, and my first time painting something that matters. So, subscribe. Please, hit the notification bell, like the video, dislike the video. It all helps the channel more than you know. Ooh, and share it. Great googly boogly. Nothing helps more than sharing. I appreciate you, and until the next one, my friends, keep moving forward. Oh God, that is so bad. I'd rather bury my nose in a steaming pile of shit.